This week's episode of Panel of Amateurs is brought to you by oxygen. It's in the air, it's all around you. Breathe it in and live a little. Because if you don't, you'll die. Panel of Amateurs, brought to you by oxygen. Welcome to episode 5 of Panel of Amateurs. Today on the show, we discuss what's in the news, the question of the week from last week, and our reaction to the Walking Dead season premiere. Peter, there were a couple of new trailers released this week. Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy, Assassin's Creed, and A Cure for Wellness. Which one did you like the most?
Out of that list, I did find one really intriguing, and I'll tell you about it in just a second. Theme song goes here. Don't forget to put the theme song here.
Thanks for coming back for another week. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to our videos down in the comments. Also, go ahead and share our videos. This week, Peter and I have decided that we're going to put in a little contest into our videos. So right now, we want to try and get our subscribers up. When we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to give away a prize. We're not going to tell you what that prize is, but it's going to be a decent one.
We like to keep amateurs. Suspense.
So the prize will be decent. Go ahead and share, like, comment on our videos. What we're going to do is once we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to tally those comments down at the bottom, and we're going to randomly select someone to give a prize to. So if you like prizes, and we're sure you do, like, share, and subscribe, as always. All right, so which of those trailers that were released last week did you like?
So out of those trailers, the story that I'm most excited for is the Assassin's Creed story. Second most excited is Logan, and then I was gonna say Game of Thrones because in my notes I just have GOT as for Guardians of the Galaxy. It's definitely not Game of Thrones. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, the teaser that came out, and then Cure for Wellness. I put them in that order of my excitement, I think.
So probably the most popular one would go between Logan and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, definitely.
Let's talk about what you liked in the Logan trailer first.
Well, I like the used "Hurt," the Johnny Cash cover of the Nine Inch Nails song. Sound and music is something that I really find to be important in films, and so the idea that Logan is this wanderer. At least from the trailer, it seems like he's the only one left of the mutants, and he's a wanderer. And so using that song really kind of emphasizes that, because that's how the feeling of the song has. But I saw a lot of comments that just said, "Oh, is this a Last of Us movie?" I don't know if you ever played the game The Last of Us. It seems to be about the same kind of story: an older man guiding a young girl through a post-apocalyptic type world.
So basically, in the trailer, we get the sense that in Logan, which is basically Wolverine 3, Wolverine is aging and his healing factor is diminished.
Right.
All the mutants are gone. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really like the trailer.
You didn't like the trailer at all? Or just parts of it? Which part?
Just parts of it. It just didn't really work for me. They had the same old Wolverine tropes where he's running through a forest or through a hallway and jumps in the air and spreads out his claws. Kind of the spinning slash thing that he does. It was just kind of the same old thing with just a little dustier. And also with the Wolverine X-Men universe as a whole, where does this fit in the timeline? Like, I'm so confused about how these things fit together. Because in Days of Future Past, when we saw the future, it was, this new technological age where just the future, it looked futuristic. Well, this looks like a New Mexico desert.
To have a rebuttal for that, for the positive side of this trailer, let's look at the world how it is now. There's huge technological advances in like New York and Los Angeles and Dallas and Denver, these large cities. But if you come down to a rural city, say like Sallisaw, Oklahoma, a smaller town, they don't have those technological advances. So who's to say that there's sentinels everywhere and they're not just in the large cities where they're going to find the most mutants? That's the big threat in Days of Future Past when they get to the future, is that the Sentinels have taken over. But I think that this is the New Mexico desert or Arizona. You know, we're out like on like the Navajo reservation or something, and it's just somewhere that's been so removed from the technological advances for so long that it has no need, like there's no reason for the Sentinels to come out there. So there's not that same technology. That's my rebuttal to you on
So
that.
what are the Reavers doing out there? Because that's the group that's hunting him. They're a comic book story arc, comic book characters, the Reavers. And basically what they do is they remove parts of themselves and replace it with robotic parts. So arms. There's a guy who even replaced his body with a tank in one of the comic books. They're out there looking for Wolverine or this clone of Wolverine who is the little girl potentially is X-23. They didn't reveal that in the trailer, but we're all assuming that is what's going on. Why are they out there? It all boils down to this. The trailer didn't move me at all. The timeline is confusing, and I just don't trust the X-Men universe that they've created. And I don't trust it.
There's
I
not
don't
enough
trust it
continuity
anymore.
for you. It's not as solid as, like, say the rest of the Marvel universe has been created now.
And I hate to jump on that because everything Marvel solves every problem. Now, I am admittedly a Superman fan. I think the best thing they did for the DC universe or their movie universe was put somebody in charge to oversee everything so that the films, even though they're different directors, different cast, fit better together the same way that Marvel did. I think with Fox, and they've shown it in the past, there's too many hands in the pot. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. So for things like the Fantastic Four, when they tried to reboot that and they had directors drop out and the studio wanted one thing and the vision from the director was different. I think we see the same thing at Fox where when they're hands off on a movie like Deadpool and they just say, hey, we don't know what you have there. Go.
Here's some money. Just do your thing.
Just do your thing. You get a really good movie. But with the X-Men, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. They don't focus on what the last movie did. They try and they have the right to do their own thing. But if you're making this an expanded universe, you have to be open to what the previous director did for a different movie or be able to tie those things together. You can't just go off and say, all right, I'm doing my own thing. It exists in the same universe, but it doesn't look the same. Like this doesn't look or feel like previous X-Men movies.
No, yeah. Maybe X2.
Does it though?
Like film quality of it. Obviously the world is different. You know, it's been, well, I guess Xavier's supposed to be about 100 in this film, and Logan is, who knows how old Logan is now. I mean, he's been around for so long. To me, it kind of looks like it could be the same world as like X1, X2.
So I read a report online that said this movie is about a year after the future scenes in Days of Future Past.
It's only a year later?
Way. That is what it said online.
I don't know.
That can't be possible.
No. Unless Marvel comes out and says the Wolverine films are a different universe. Like they're a different reality. But then that's just like the go-to. It's something that doesn't make sense. Oh no, it's an alternate reality. It's cool. We're good. Yeah.
I don't buy it. I'm gonna go see the movie. They're gonna get my money either way it goes. But I just don't trust. I don't trust what Fox is doing with these characters. I will say that I'm kind of being a little kid when I say at some point I need to see Wolverine in costume. Like even if you go the Luke Cage route, where he makes fun of it or says this is ridiculous. Right. If this is the end for Hugh Jackman, I've got to see it. It doesn't have to be the blue and yellow. It can be the
black,
the black and gold or the brown and gold. But I've got to see Wolverine. I've got to see Hugh Jackman dressed up as Wolverine.
He's not going to be though. I mean,
then I'm done with them after that. I'm just done. They're still going to get my money, but I'm going to give it to them.
This is the last time you're going to get my money for this franchise. Then maybe if you do something else in the future.
From here on out, you're getting my money begrudgingly.
I did want to clear up one misconception. I watched the trailer with a couple different people. and the main antagonist that's come up on the screen, everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Draco Malfoy." It's not the same guy.
That's
everyone.
not Draco Malfoy.
Yeah, that actor's name is Boyd Holbrook, and the guy who plays Draco Malfoy is Tom Felton,
who is on The Flash this season.
Right, he's the main villain on The Flash.
Possibly, we don't know that yet.
Well,
Peter. Spoilers, Peter. Spoilers.
Of course, he's gonna be, because he's the more famous actor. It's kind of like when you watch a cop show and someone famous is on, you're like, oh, well, they're the killer. Crap, why am I even watching this episode? Every time, there's not a single time where I'm just like, hey, that person's the killer because they're more famous, and it turns out not to be. No, it is. It's always the more famous person.
No, he's the villain. We know it. I mean, it's going to be drug out for 22 episodes.
Yeah,
but we know it.
So other than Logan, we had Guardians of the Galaxy 2 teaser. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it was a teaser, so there wasn't a whole lot they showed. They introduced the new team, so you've got Nebula joining the team. Mm-hmm. I just wonder if they can capture the same magic from the first film, because it came out of nowhere.
Right.
No one knew they had what they had when they released the movie. It's kind of like a swing in the dark, kind of like Doctor Strange is from
right. Doctor Strange, and then like Rogue One's going to be as well. It's these films that people don't really know anything about. Well, someone knows something about.
There's going to be somebody who cries down in the comments that, oh, I've been reading Guardians of the Galaxy comics for 20 years.
Yeah.
The main audience did not know these characters. So
Right.
It was a swing in the dark. It wasn't one of their more popular characters. They're trying to see if they had anything. In the same way that they're going about with Doctor Strange. While Doctor Strange is probably more well-known than the characters from Guardians of the Galaxy, he doesn't have the same following as, say, an X-Men or
Right.
Captain America. So these are swing-in-the-dark films. But now with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, you've got an established continuity. You've got an established group of characters. Can you give us the things we loved from the first movie, but give us also something different? Don't just regurgitate what worked in the first movie. Give us something better and something new.
I feel like Star-Lord's probably going to have a lot of the same kind of humor. Mainly, I mean, as we talked about before, Chris Pratt, you know, we're both big fans of Chris Pratt, but he does deliver humor in a certain way. And I feel like that it's going to be, Star-Lord's the same kind of humor. Especially from the teaser, we had the scene of him and Drax and the hugging, and it's good that he has the same feel. He's the same character, the same actor. But I don't know how much new things are going to show up in this second volume.
So we never talked about where we rate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, but let's just say this movie is slightly worse. Not bad.
Just slightly worse.
Just not as good as the first.
Well,
how does that?
It's going to automatically be slightly worse because it's not a surprise anymore. Like, I feel like I should know these characters and what they're going to do, how they're going to react to things.
So let's take another movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've got Captain America, the First Avenger, and then you've got Captain America, the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier is obviously a far better movie.
Yeah.
Do you think with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, they have a chance of, is this their Winter Soldier? Or do you think that's just, it's kind of like magic in a bottle or lightning in a bottle where this doesn't happen very often and Marvel kind of just got lucky in the way they did things?
No, because I feel like they are getting smarter with their writing, and so they can probably make it work. This teaser, obviously being a teaser, doesn't give away anything at all, but I feel like I don't know if it'll be a Winter Soldier, just because the teaser is just, here's a shot of Star-Lord, here's a shot of Drax, here's a shot of Rocket. It's just, here are the characters, they're going to be in it, and here's the title. All right, have a great day. It's possible, but everything's possible. That's what they tell you when you're in kindergarten. You can be anything you want. You could be an astronaut, you can be a Guardian of the Galaxy. You could also end up in jail if you think you're a Guardian of the Galaxy because you're going to be a vigilante. And real fast, I know we didn't talk about this at all before, but did you hear about this vigilante guy in Nebraska? No?
Where did that come from?
No, okay, so I just remembered that I was talking about vigilantes,
Gotcha.
So there was a guy in Nebraska that he married a lady whose son had been molested, and so because of that, he said that he'd do anything to protect him from that. So the guy went on the sexual offenders registry and killed 27 sex offenders in his area. Like, he broke into their homes at night and like killed them, and like one of the people was found with their body like mutilated. Like, this guy got away with 27 murders before
He got away with it?
Well, he got caught, obviously.
Okay.
But 27 people he killed before they caught him. Like,
My question is that what is going on in Nebraska that there are 27 sex offenders just like in a
a 5 mile radius.
5 mile
Just,
radius?
chilling.
Like, goodness gracious, is there a community?
I don't know. So, but yeah, back to Guardians of the Galaxy. It has the same look and feel as the first one, and that will keep a good continuity. But will the writing be as good? That's the question for sure.
Yeah, I'm also curious I know that they are with Groot. They are for a character to have only really uttered one word in an entire movie, to be as popular as he is. They are going with the baby Groot thing so that they can draw in more kids.
Right.
They can sell merchandise during the holiday season, things like that. Is that going to have an effect on the story? Is a lot of times in sequels, it's more, you get more marketing because the companies know what you have now.
Right.
So they up the ante in the product placement, and you get more marketing, and you get more TV commercials related to your product.
We're gonna get so many Fruit Loop boxes with Baby Groot on them.
Exactly. So, does that have an effect on the type of story you can tell? Because now you're catering. You have to cater to how many marketing dollars you can provide, and so will that affect the story we get this time around? Will that make the certain cast members have found more fame than others? Does that affect the cohesiveness or the chemistry that we find in the?
I hope not. I hope that the actors themselves are like big enough people to say, "Hey, good job. You've done great since the last time we worked together," and they can still have a good chemistry. Because it'd be really sad to see that cast, like the cast of characters from Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was really great, solid. Everyone worked well together. It was very believable that they weren't friends at first and then they became friends. So it would be kind of sad to see them become not friends again. And you can see that in people's acting, i.e. Luke Cage's relationship with Claire. Yeah.
Going back to that.
Disastrous. Horrible disaster.
So, and I said it a few weeks ago. You mentioned it earlier when we reviewed The Magnificent Seven. I'm in on Chris Pratt. Because of how good the first Guardians was, I'm in on Volume 2. So, again, same thing with Logan. I'm going to go see the movie. And this time, not begrudgingly. I'm happily giving them my dollars this time. I expect it to be as good as the first. I'm just curious as we continue down this path of the comic book movie genre, with the budgets going up, dollars going up. We're going to talk about Deadpool 2 in a moment, and how the success of that film is negatively affecting the sequel. Are we going to find those same things with more movies going down the line?
Oh. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, Terry.
Maybe then you don't know what's coming up next. So they also released a new trailer for Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
It's a video game adaptation of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
It's coming to the big screen. Video games don't usually do well when they're adapted to movies.
Warcraft
specifically. A lot of the Resident Evils.
Real fast, let's talk about Warcraft just for like 2 seconds. And I know a lot of people that are listening, they're big Warcraft fans, and they probably enjoyed the film because of the nuances of it, the references that I didn't get. But trying to watch that movie, I've probably spent 3 times trying to watch it, and I keep getting lost. Perhaps I need to drink a Dr. Pepper and watch it at noon or something so I can stay awake. But I don't get the appeal on that one.
I'll be honest with you. It took me a couple of times to watch it too. I kept falling asleep in the middle of it, and I had to remember where I left off at. It just wasn't. It was okay. I don't have anything positive to say about it. Not a whole lot.
Not a lot of negative. Just
It was just.
It's reached nirvana. It's reached that flat spot.
Catch it when it's on.
Catch it when it's on.
It's on TV. Take an hour, 2.5
Yeah.
that you'll never get back,
Yeah.
and watch it.
But yeah, so video game adaptations for films have not done super well. I mean, Resident Evil is the story kind of is like the games in the fact that there are zombies and it's created by the T virus, but that's about it.
And I thought the first movie where they're trapped down in the bunker of Raccoon City, I thought that was done relatively well. I thought that I liked that one, but they went downhill ever since then. I don't know. Maybe I think they're on 8
keep making
now.
them. Why?
This is supposed to be the last one.
It's like Underworld. Stop making these films.
But people are excited about the Underworld trailer. Like, they saw that thing, and I
But
saw comments everywhere about how excited they are. And I don't know if they missed the last movie or the last two.
Yeah.
But they weren't very good. So, but people are excited about those Underworld trailers.
That's like, remember back in the early 2000s with the scary movies? It was like Scary Movie 1, Scary Movie 2. Oh, there's 5 of them, I think. They just kept making them in back to back, and people kept seeing them. They're not good movies. Like the first
Paranormal Activity is another one like that. First one got you by surprise. There's no surprises in the second one, but people, it's the Halloween season. People are going. They just want to see something that relates to horror, and they'll just go see whatever. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
And that is how Avatar became the highest grossing film. Just kidding. There's other things about Avatar. No, we're not going to talk about Avatar today. The point is that video game films have not been the best as of late. Excluding Wreck-It Ralph, which isn't specifically for one video game. It has lots of references to a lot of video games. But I don't know if you've seen Wreck-It Ralph, but I would put it in my top 100.
But I wouldn't really count that as a video game. Like, it's not based off of
it's not an adaptation.
The story of one game. It ain't. It's like saying Toy Story is a good toy movie based off the fact that it has Mattel characters in there and whatnot. It's not the same as this. The Assassin's Creed trailer looks good. I just have to be.
I hear a butt coming, like a however.
Well, I just have to, because of how bad video game adaptations have been, I have to rein in any excitement for the fact that you've ever been to a movie and you feel like all the good things were in the trailer?
Yes.
All the best parts in the movie were in the trailer.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
But it happens all the time with video game movies. Is that what we're setting ourselves up for again? Are we setting ourselves up for the fact that all the best parts of this movie, him diving off the cathedral, all that stuff, like those are the best parts of this movie, and we're gonna get nothing else?
See, my only critique of the trailer is the music. They should have used an orchestrated score. I feel like they used the pop music to bring in the younger crowd, but I don't think it fit very well once they actually had everything going. But I think that Michael Fassbender is playing the role of Callum Lynch, the main character, and he's kind of gold right now. You know, he's Magneto. He's got a lot of credits under his belt that I can't think of right now, but other than these two things. But the point is, I think that he wouldn't sign on to a film that wasn't going to be good. You know, like if you already have good credits, why would you put yourself in a position to fail?
Same thing, the same reason everyone else does. Money. You take the money that you get from this and you use that payday to bankroll some of your more passion projects. That's why they all do it. I guess that's true. They jump into a movie that they know isn't very good because if we know it, they know it. They read the script. Mm-hmm. They see it long before we do. You know that it wasn't very good, but you use that money or that cachet that you get to bankroll a passion project of yours.
Well, I think, so getting back to the Assassin's Creed movie and if it's going to be good or not, I think your question was, did we see all the good parts in the trailer? And I'd say 80% no. You did not. like that's going to be a lot of the good parts for sure. But like in the Assassin's Creed games, a lot of the intrigue of playing it is the fact that you have the ability to do a lot of stealth actions, And so I think that when he starts like blending in with the crowd,
Is that going to the way the game works?
Is it going to translate?
Where you are really this person in current time, we'll say, and this is more of a future tech movie, and then you go back to the Renaissance or
the Spanish Inquisition, the Revolutionary War, pirate,
all
Black
those
Flag,
things.
yeah.
Is the normal viewer or the regular viewer gonna realize? Are they gonna accept the fact that we're kind of getting two different movies? Like you're getting a story told in two different timelines.
I think that's going to be the biggest appeal of it, though. The fact that we're getting the future with this technology that allows you to take your DNA and go back in time to one of your ancestors. And then you have the story of the Spanish. This one is pertaining to the Spanish Inquisition. But that's one of the appeals of the game for sure, is that you get a history lesson without getting a history lesson. You're learning, like, everything that they do in those games has been meticulously researched to make sure that it is historically accurate. From like the clothing, the architecture, the actual storylines of what's happening. So I feel like the amount of detail that they've put into the Assassin's Creed games, if they're not being consulted to make the film, then the film's gonna suck. It's gonna be horrible. Like you said, we've seen the best parts, and the story's gonna be horrible. But if I think, is it Bethesda that makes Assassin's Creed? I can't remember.
I'm sure. I think you're right.
Yeah. If they are on board, I mean, obviously they're on board because they've given the rights to make the film. But if they go in and do the same detail with the film that they have with the games, we're going to start showing this movie in 7th grade history classes for a history lesson. There's going to be a very solid story that it's going to last for a while.
So, are you going to see this movie when it comes out in theaters?
Heck yeah, day one. I'm going to see this.
You're day one on this. All right, I may wait a week or two.
I'll tell you if it's good or not. Don't worry.
Also, this week they released the trailer for a movie that you're interested in, A Cure for Wellness. I'm gonna let you go ahead and have the mic all to yourself, Peter. I know you've been looking forward to it all day. Tell us what's going on here.
All right, I'm just going to read the synopsis, and I'm going to read it in my radio voice. An ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at a remote location in the Swiss Alps. He soon suspects that the spa's miraculous treatments are not what they seem. Man.
The movie stars Dane DeHaan. If you know, you may remember him from projects like The Amazingly Unamazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that movie.
Is that going to draw you? Is Dane DeHaan drawing you in?
No, I don't. This film, because it's a new story, it doesn't pertain to anything that I've seen previously. What draws me in is the cinematography in the trailer. I feel like it's going to be a pretty mediocre story at the end, though. Like, it's just going to be, oh, man, we went to this place and it was supposed to help us and now it's killing everyone. Or they're doing weird science experiments. In the trailer, they have people in iron lungs, like it's 1920 and everyone has polio again or something. I don't know what's going on with that. There's an amazing shot with you're on a train in the Swiss Alps and the camera is hanging out the side of the train and they've cleaned the windows so well that the reflection of it splits the screen in half and it kind of is disorienting a little bit as well. I remember watching that part and thinking, man, train windows aren't that clean. I rode the train from LA to Kansas City. You can't get that shot. And then I realized that they probably just cleaned it for that scene. So good job, guys, keeping your train clean in the Swiss Alps.
Every time I see Dane DeHaan in a trailer, I'm just hoping that it is a follow-up to the movie Chronicle. If you haven't seen that, I suggest going out and seeing it immediately. I'm not even going to give you a synopsis on that. You just need to Google it right now. Go watch it. One of the best superhero type movies that they've come out with in a long time.
Yeah, and back to Cure for Wellness, really the trailer doesn't show us anything, and that's what I really like about this movie right now, is that in the trailer there's no plot given away, other than the fact that at the end there's some people that are floating in tanks. That's a little weird, and that's what builds the intrigue, like, oh, what's really going on here? But there's not any plot given away.
Yeah, I watched the trailer myself, and I didn't know.
You don't know
what
what's
was
going on at all.
which is why I
You're like,
left it,
everything's green and gold. I
which is
don't
why
know
I
what's
left
going
it to
on.
you to talk about.
Yeah, so I think it looks really exciting. I think I kind of want to see that movie as well. I don't know if it'll be day one like Assassin's Creed, but I'll probably still see it.
So this week, Donald Glover was cast as Billy D. Williams in the Billy D. biopic. No. He was cast as Lando Calrissian.
I was
in the
like,
Han Solo standalone.
that's not right.
But Lando was famously portrayed by Billy D. Williams in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. He also has some voice credits in some of the Clone Wars, some of the video games. I like the casting of Donald Glover and pairing Donald with the relative newcomer Alden Ehrenreich. I think I'll balance the screen. Hey, Aaron, Alden, we know you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening, I mean, we know you were listening because we decided this last week that everyone is listening, especially if they're famous, but we're not saying their names correctly, so that we need them to tell us how to say their names.
So comment below, shoot us an email, let us know how we pronounce your name. We know you're out there. Let us know how we pronounce it. We want to get it right because we don't want you to be upset when you're listening.
So I'm really intrigued to see how Donald does in this role because, as I've stated multiple times on the show already, I love the show Community, and where he plays a half-witted football player, prom king, but not very smart kind of character. And then in his comedies, he's played a lot of different. I don't want to say characters because they're all pretty much the same guy, like all with his Derek comedy. But then he also has his music career as Childish Gambino, where the topics that he covers in that are a little more serious. So I want to see how he takes this role because Lando Calrissian, doesn't seem to me to be super serious guy.
Also, is there a concern that with you just mentioned some of Donald's credits?
Right.
He's the more well-known commodity. This is a Han Solo standalone movie or solo film.
Right, so it's going to be like Jared Leto in Suicide Squad where he's there for 5 minutes and then we're going to be like, wait a second, where'd Lando go? Wait.
Well, and if he's in there more, are you worried about Donald stealing scenes that should, this is really Alden's time to shine.
Right.
Are we worried about Donald, the focus in what he's been in, what Donald has been in? He has made a name for himself off some of those kind of sidekick characters. Is this his transition where, the best parts of this movie may end up being Donald Glover?
I hope not. I hope that they do a good job of writing and that he takes into account the fact that Lando isn't the main character and he plays it as such.
But should he be? Will this turn into kind of like a buddy cop drama? I know they're not cops there, but will this kind of be a buddy comedy?
I don't know.
They said
No,
the story will show how he loses the
Falcon?
the Falcon to Han Solo.
It could go one of two ways. Awesome or good. I'm not sure which one. I don't see this film being bad. I just think it's going to be either just like slightly above meh, yeah, that was fun, or it's going to be, dang, I've been waiting for this story since Empire Strikes Back. It's been 30 years. Tell me the story.
Okay, go ahead and get it out of the way. Deadpool director Tim Miller dropped out as director of Deadpool 2 over creative differences. Most of the information out there is that these creative differences were with Ryan Reynolds. We talked about earlier how the success of the previous movie coming out of nowhere can affect what's going on with the second movie or the sequel. I don't really trust Ryan Reynolds enough to give him complete creative control over the property. This spells bad news for me.
Do you think the film is going to feel disjointed after that when they put it all together?
I think that it's gonna seem disjointed. I think that they are going to, as opposed to bringing something new to the table, I think that Ryan Reynolds does a certain thing.
Right.
Like you said, with Chris Pratt, he delivers his comedy a certain way, and that doesn't always work. So if you've got an entire movie where Ryan thought the best parts of Deadpool were the comedy or the jokes, if that's all we get this time around because those were Ryan's favorite parts,
it's not going to be the same thing. No, I didn't see the first Deadpool, so I don't know what else is there other than the comedy, because that's what I hear the most about afterwards. Everyone says, oh, it's so funny, you should go see Deadpool. and I just haven't done it.
It was funny. There were parts, it's an R-rated comedy, superhero film. So you've got your comedy, your action. They can be a little darker than you normally see in your superhero fare. But coming back the second time around and just doubling up on that's
not gonna work.
I don't think it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work for me at all.
I mean, it doesn't matter who the character is. If you just take one part of a successful story and double it, then it just becomes contrived, I guess is the word I want to use. It's forced. It's very much, this is what they're going for. A lot like Captain Planet in the 90s telling me to recycle.
Yeah. And breaking this team up, so to say, you had a winning formula for the first movie. A winning formula that no one really saw coming for this first movie. You bring in another director who, at this point, everyone knows this is kind of Ryan Reynolds' train. You either get on, shut your mouth, and go for the ride, and you don't butt heads, or you'll be the next director out. Are we really getting anything besides Ryan Reynolds' vision? And like I said before, I don't necessarily trust it. So
yeah,
my excitement for Deadpool may be waning depending on what their next move is here.
Well, speaking of Captain Planet, like I did a second ago, they're making a Captain Planet film, and by they I mean Leonardo DiCaprio's production company is making it.
So, and this will lead us...
That's it for the news on that.
That actually leads us right into our question of the week from last week. We asked last week, what is your favorite adaptation? Book to film, comic to film, or TV? What's something you saw growing up that you'd read the book, read the comic, they've made it into a TV or movie? What is your favorite adaptation that you draw on if you need to, something to kill some time with? So they're adapting Captain Planet. Peter doesn't necessarily think it'll do well. I think depending on how they go about it, if they get Leonardo to star, I'd go see it in the theaters.
As of right now, without seeing any trailers, just knowing it's going to exist, I will just have to catch it on TV if it's on.
All right. So, Peter, what are the answers we got online in regard to what people's favorite adaptations are?
So online, we got a couple answers, some good stuff, some stuff that I agree with and some I don't, but that's okay. The first one was the Final Fantasy VII game to movie. So Final Fantasy VII and then Final Fantasy Advent Children. It was pretty good. That's the better of the two Final Fantasy films that came out for sure. I agree with that. Next was all the Lord of the Rings series.
Those are my personal favorites.
That's a one of highly sought after adaptation.
I don't really see how you could have went wrong doing those films, mainly because J.R. Tolkien was so wordy. He would take pages describing a field. Like, they had everything they needed. It's one of those things where sometimes you read a book or watch a comic and what you see on screen is different than what you envisioned. You didn't have a choice. Tolkien described it exactly the way they put it on the film. So
exactly.
For the most part, I was pretty happy with it. If you ever watch the extended versions, which are like 4 plus hours long for each movie, then you really get the
get into that field. You get to see the wheat and each grain and the bug that's on the grain of wheat. And
if you got 2 days of your life that you never want to have back, I'd say go and check out the extended version. But no, that is my personal favorite.
Another question, or not question, but answer was that said, I know it hasn't come out yet, but the Assassin's Creed game to the movie looks awesome. Another person who's going to see it on day one with me. If you want to come watch it with me, it looks like his name is Ben. You can come on over to my house. That sounds creepy.
You just invited someone over to your house.
He's actually it's my little brother.
Well, then, Ben, you go ahead and go over. That makes it more creepy that you had to say it was creepy about your brother.
Yeah. I didn't want to give away that it's my brother that answered the question, but at the same time, we are amateurs, so my brother can answer a question. It's okay. It's not a big deal, man. Why you got to get on my back about this? I don't know.
You put it out there that it was creepy.
That's true. Another answer we had was 10 Things I Hate About You, which is actually an adaptation of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew.
Yes. And someone had the courage to put that on the list.
Yeah, they're a strong person to know that that's their favorite. Jurassic Park. So Jurassic Park,
Wait, so going back to that, 10 Things I Hate About You is their favorite adaptation of Taming of the Shrew. Not the adaptation that stars Elizabeth Taylor, but the 10 Things I Hate About You version.
Right.
Okay. Moving on.
So yeah, Jurassic Park was another one. Okay. So I have this thing about Michael Crichton books being made into films, and why do they change things in the book? For instance, in Jurassic Park, spoiler,
Ego.
If
It's all
it's
ego.
gotta be ego. If you haven't read the book Jurassic Park, then this is gonna be a spoiler. But at the end, when in the film everyone gets on the helicopter and flies away, that's not how the book ends at all. The only people that get out are Malcolm, the doctors, Sadler. The point is the paleontologists get out and the kids, but the guy who runs the park, the owner, the grandfather, he gets eaten by the small compy dinosaurs. They're called compies. It's a short.
So he doesn't die in his bed like in
No.
Gotcha.
No, he is out in the field and he's running back towards the paddock, and he trips and he falls and he rolls down a hill and he gets eaten by the dinosaurs. He doesn't make it out of that story, and they don't even introduce those small compies. I can't remember the full name. They just call them compies for the most of the book, but they don't even introduce those dinosaurs until Lost World, when they eat the little girl at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Those are the same that eat him.
It's all ego.
Yeah.
That's simply what it is. It's the old adage that, I have to put my stamp on it, because if I
Right.
tell this story, then it's still the Arthur story. That they do the same thing with movies to comics. We complain all the time about why they're not doing a certain thing in The Walking Dead, or why they're not going the comic book route. It's because either it's the ego of the author or the ego of the show producers or directors, the movie producers, thinking that, well, hey, too many people have read this. We don't want them to know it's coming. But the fact of the matter is, when your movie is grossing over $300 million, the vast majority of the people in those seats have never even opened that book, have never even opened that comic. So you could tell the story detail for detail. And the movie, what we just talked about before in the Lord of the Rings, is that people don't care. I mean, they told that almost detail for detail.
And they come for the details
anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's like, again, with the Michael Crichtons, with Sphere, they changed the main character's name. What was the point of that? And then the ending, they changed the ending a little bit as well. And I get that they want you to be surprised when you go to the movie, like, oh, there's a different ending. I didn't see that coming. But at the same time, like, I want to see these films the way that I read them, and that happens with on the opposite end. The same with like the Lord of the Rings series, how detailed it was. The Harry Potter series as well. With J.K. Rowling, she was with the writers, making sure that everything was how it's supposed to be from the book. Nothing strayed from the story. They left parts out, but they didn't create a different story by doing it. Before we get into our adaptations, the ones we've chosen, we have one more. It's just the Star Wars films to the books that were created post film. Like,
They want to see those created?
no, that's their favorite adaptation.
So bringing the film back to a book.
To a book, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
Even though the books aren't canon anymore.
Yeah, they're not canon anymore. Thanks a lot, Disney. Because if they are, then Han and Leia have twins, so Kylo has a sister.
Dun, dun, dun.
But they're not canon, so it's cool. We can do whatever we want. That's whatever. So Terry, what about you? What adaptations have you chosen?
I mean, my favorite is Lord of the Rings. Like I said, I spent the money on all of the extended versions. It was a book that I'd read. I'd read The Hobbit prior to the release of The Lord of the Rings. I'd read the Lord of the Rings books prior to the release of the films. So it was something that a world that I'd already been in. Mm-hmm. And that once they, I try to find things that go, oh, no, I would have done it. But there wasn't a whole lot of what I imagined happening that was different from the way they presented it on film. So Lord of the Rings is probably my number one. I've said it many times before. I am a huge Superman fan, so I eat that stuff up. whenever it's on film or on TV, those are all of my favorite adaptations. When they anything Superman, even the movies that people hate, besides Batman vs Superman,
Right.
I'll
You're
jump. I'm on board with
on
that.
board
Was
with the
pretty
hate
bad.
the hate train on that.
On board with that, but Man of Steel, Superman.
Even Return of Superman or Superman Returns, the one where he gets shot in the eye with the bullet.
I don't hate it. Looking back after years, was it good? No, but I watch it. I say
Right.
that I was in line the first day it came out on DVD because they made DVDs just by themselves years ago with no Blu-ray. I was in line for it. I rewatched it a couple hundred times at home, so I'm not gonna kill it now. But it wasn't. It was word for word, almost regurgitation of some of the Richard Donner films, and we've seen that before. The character hadn't been on film for 20 plus years. Give us something new. Do something new with the character. They redo Batman, but they redo Batman. We're
Right.
not getting the Joel Schumacher films anymore. They're giving us a different take on the Batman movies they make. So I wanted to see something different with Superman. Christopher Reeves is the Superman in everyone's heart,
Right.
but we have to move on and give somebody else a chance to do something with the role, and that's why I'm okay with the way they do Superman now. I want him to be happier. I want him to be lighter, but I don't think that Henry Cavill has to give me the same Superman that Christopher Reeves did.
Well, for me this week, this question was actually really hard to choose because I do watch a lot of films that were books. But then as choosing a favorite, a lot of times what happens is I'll watch a film from a book that I've read and I start to pick it apart. For instance, Ender's Game, which is a fantastic story about 8-year-olds that kill each other at one point. You can't show that on film. So they made the characters like 12 and 14 years old. And then they put a love story in it. And it was like, why did you do that? These children are not supposed to be in love. They're in a school for fighting. And so that's what happens a lot when I do book to film. But one of my more recent favorite adaptations is the Batman Arkham games, the storyline of the Arkham Asylum, but taking that character from a comic book and putting it in someone's control, being able to be Batman and
No, those games are great. I actually played it over the weekend.
Yeah, they're super good. So I would say that's one of my favorite adaptations right now. As for film, I really enjoyed Phantom of the Opera when they brought that to film. So it was a Broadway play. It was a book before that. So it's been adapted twice. I enjoyed the latter half of the Harry Potter films. I didn't really know much about it for the first half of the film, so
Had you read the books prior to that?
I actually so a funny story about that is that I had never read any Harry Potter book, and then Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out, and a bunch of my friends decided that we were going to go dress up as Harry Potter characters to the premiere of that film, and none of us had read the books. And when we got to the we went to a thrift store and got like the most ghetto looking costumes that we could think of to be these characters. Like the guy who was Dumbledore, he used a mop for his beard. Like it was really shady looking, but
Those are the best costumes, though.
we were the only ones that were dressed up for the premiere, so no one else had dressed up. And on the way to the film, my wife said, "Hey, have you read any of the books?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, good. I have the first one here. Let's start now."
That's how
so
you get started.
so that's how I got started in the Harry Potter world universe. After reading the books and rewatching the films, they did a pretty good job. But a lot of times, when, like you said earlier, when you read a book, the way that you imagine it is not the way that they portray it in a film, and that's how we get a lot of people that keep saying things about the book to film adaptations. But I feel like a lot of the other types of adaptations, like I said, like comic book to video game, those have been doing better as of late. However, like film to video game adaptations don't usually work very well when they're like, for instance, the Spider-Man game that came out with the first Spider-Man film.
Mm-hmm.
It was an open world game where you can be Spider-Man.
You didn't like that one?
It was fun.
I liked the first one.
Yeah, the first one is fun for the first maybe 4 hours of playing. And then you realize that you're doing the same task over and over. Like it's the same lady who keeps getting her purse stolen, or it's the same.
Or some kid's balloons that you had to catch. Do you
like, why was I catching the kid's balloon? Like, just go buy another balloon, kid. They're like $1.50. Come on. So I did enjoy the freedom of that game, though, being able to just swing around the city. I think I did that more than any of the actual missions. I just shot my spider webs everywhere and just tried. I don't know. I like the idea of flight, and if that's as close as I can get in a game, then I'm going to do it.
So if you missed the question of the week from last week, and you still want to talk about it, go ahead and leave some comments down in the comments section. Tell us what adaptations you'd like to see, what books to film to book, comic to film are your favorite. Let us know. Let our other commenters know. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and share our channel. Next week will be our Halloween episode. So our question of the week for next week is, what is your favorite horror film? Whether that's your Friday the 13th, and for those of you who don't know, it could be Jason or his mother. Which adaptation do you like the best?
Leprechaun.
Had that Leprechaun scared some kids pantsless.
Gremlins is technically a horror film.
Which I never understood why you'd get the pants scared off of you. Like, who gets scared and says, I gotta take my pants off right now. I'm so terrified. I don't really get that saying. So tell us down in the comments also, what were your favorite horror films growing up? What just scared the daylights out of you, or your pants off if that's the way you get scared? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about the answers to your questions next week. And speaking of adaptations, one of everyone's favorite adaptations right now, Walking Dead premiered last night. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched the episode, you're going to want to walk away now, because we're about to dive head first into this bloodbath.
We're going to give you 3 seconds to pause or skip to the ending credits of this episode.
Oh, there you go. Time's up.
I think that was 3 seconds. All right. Well, if you're still here, that means you probably watched the season opener for The Walking Dead, and you are just as excited about it as we are. And by excited, I also mean sad. I also mean disgusted, I guess. I don't know. It was parts of it.
I'm not disgusted. Peter, that is how you create a villain. We talked about the governor last week, but that is how, after 1.5 episodes, he is the best human villain that they've had on the show for me. And I could be
already hate him.
Call me living 100%. In the moment.
100%.
I'm already excited about his death. Like, when do they get to kill this guy?
Right, exactly. Oh, this Negan is so horrible. It's so horrible. And if you watch the episode, which hopefully you have, if you're at this point in the show, when he pulls Carl out and draws that line on his arm, I just thought, why are you going further? Like, you've already killed 2 people.
Here's the line. Negan was in another hemisphere.
Seriously.
Like, he crossed the line
so far
and just kept going.
He doesn't even care. It's a lot like the way that he kills with Lucille. They're already dead, and he just keeps going and going and going. It's like he cannot be satisfied with just death. He has to he has to destroy whatever it is unless it's his. You know, he has to make it his property, or it doesn't exist anymore.
We had an entire season and a half of The Governor, and I already dislike or hate Negan much more than I ever hated the Governor or wanted to see him go. I wanted to see the Governor go because I knew the things that he'd done in the comics, not necessarily the way they'd written him in the show. Well,
even in the show with the Governor, the scene when he just implies with Maggie the sexual assault. I mean, it doesn't happen, but he implies that it's a possibility. Mm-hmm. You know, that, for me, I was like, no, this dude is horrible. Like, we need to get rid of him. But Negan, from the moment that we meet this guy, he's terrifying, to be honest. I'm a little bit scared of him.
And to see Rick, a character that, you know, when you take who am I in the Walking Dead character? We all want to be the strong leader. We want to be Rick, the leader of the group. Rick was not, like, even before, and I know he said that Rick hadn't come all the way prior to him putting that line on Carl's hand, that Rick hadn't seen him the way he should see him yet. Like after Rick jumped up and tried to attack him in the caravan or whatever.
Yeah, the RV.
The RV, you could see that change in Rick starting to happen.
Yeah.
Where now our fearless leader is being put in a position where, whoa, like this guy, like you said, is terrifying.
Terrifying.
That was exactly how you create a villain.
Yeah.
You have given the fans for me, you give me a renewed vigor in the show. Like, I cannot wait
for next
to
week
see
to see what happens. Yeah.
And they'll probably give us some throwaway episode that'll piss me off again.
No, because we still have to get introduced to the kingdom and go back to the hilltop and see what's going on there. I mean, there's so many things that need to happen in the next couple episodes before we get to the mid-season. We have 16 episodes per season. Is that where we're at right now? So we have 8 episodes to introduce two.
But how do you top that, Peter? I mean, first off,
I thought it was CGI tiger,
genius.
Dude, that's how.
I thought it was genius to not come right in where they left off from last season.
Yeah.
I thought it was genius for them to pull back on that and have me thinking, well, are they going to wait till the last 2 minutes of the episode?
I thought the same thing. I thought, I really thought that this episode was going to open with the bat in my face, the way that it ended, and then we would just see whoever was on the ground.
I like the fact that they told that story from Rick's perspective, that we got to see Rick kind of curl back into his shell. How terrified he just upped and upped and upped as Negan upped the ante. How that made Rick withdraw. Even in the end, when Maggie was going, we have to attack them, and Rick is going, no.
Yeah, we can't.
We can't.
They have an army. We have 5 of us.
Yeah.
It's not
Normally, Rick is the one when everyone else is going, no, Rick, we got to figure out. No, we're going to murder them right now. So it was. I thought cinematically, the episode was great. If you don't know by now, and again, we did say spoilers, I thought it was another thing of pure genius for them to kill Abraham first. Because we said this last week, most of the comments out there, most of the people who've read the comics or who were guessing as to who was murdered by Negan and Lucille, they thought it was going to be Abraham and Glenn.
Right.
But I was pretty certain they were going to give us the Glenn kill first just to get it over with.
But then they killed Abraham, and I said specifically, oh, good, Glenn gets to live another day. I guess this is where we're going with this story. That's what I said. And
that's what I was thinking the same thing. As soon when he did it, I was going, okay, well, maybe they're not going to go that route.
Yeah. And then Daryl jumps up and punches Negan, and that's it. That's the end of it.
I've got a question. We know that Norman Reed, his popularity is growing. The character Dale's popularity is out of this world where people are threatening to stop watching the show. Do you think that Daryl's involvement in Glenn's death is the show's way of trying to diminish the popularity of Daryl, give him a flaw that people can understand if they write him out of the show? This is why. Do you think that'll have any effect on his character?
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone for most of the season, wherever they have him being tortured, air quotes. Because obviously he's an actor. He's not going to get tortured in real life. But the point of the story is they've taken Daryl away, and we're not going to see him for a while.
Do you think that's for storytelling, though, or is that for...
I think that's for acting purposes, because Norman Reedus has other things going on. I think that helped. His need to be gone for other jobs has created this plot line where Daryl has stood up because of Abraham's death and then caused Glenn's death. But... I don't think that it has changed the story at all. Like, we're still going to get what happens in the comics because Daryl is going to be off-site for so long now.
So, going back to plot, if you're Maggie, how do you feel about Daryl right now? Like, him saying that he's going to cut Daryl up and send him back to Rick. If you're Maggie, does that matter to you after he is directly responsible for the death?
Nothing matters to her. You can see it in the way that she, they've been kneeling for hours. I didn't even think about that because, to me, it's been minutes on the show. But I don't know what time they were captured. but it was the middle of the night, and now it's dawn. They've been there for hours on their knees with fear of their own death looming over their head. But she gets up and is super weak, and you can just see in her facial expression that she's not really there anymore. Like, she has like the 1,000-yard stare going on with the determination as with her words that she's gonna kill them all. I don't think she really believes it.
What about the fact that she didn't move a muscle? Like, it was Daryl who jumped up after the thing with Abraham, but she didn't move at all. And I talked about this last week when I said that, you can't sit there and just watch the love of your life, your loved one, whether it's your child or I mean, Rick was ready to give up the entire group. And it was probably
to not cut off Carl's arm.
It was Carl's calmness that even led him to picking up the hatchet. How do you not move?
Yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't shrieking, but I was, cringing.
Yeah.
When this was happening, and I knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming, but it was still cringeworthy for me.
Right. Well, they didn't pan the camera away at all from these deaths. The bat.
No, they went full shebang.
Yeah, you saw the bat smacking. The first Glenn hit you didn't see because Negan's standing in the way, but Abraham's death, every swing was right there for you to see. And I don't know how Maggie could sit there. I mean, she must have gone somewhere else. She had to have been somewhere else in her head,
I like the fact that Negan addressed Rick being kind of a douchebag. Like, the fact that he kept repeating, "You're gonna kill." Like, why? Did you see what he said?
Yeah.
Did you see what I just did? Like,
Yeah.
Are you nuts? And I mentioned that again on a previous episode, that how kind of douchey you'd have to be to murmur that in that moment. And it really was. And even the villain picked up on that. Why do you want me to kill everybody?
Yeah.
Because I just beat out the brains of your people in front of you. And like you said, it wasn't one hit, okay, they're gone. It was until I turn them into mashed potatoes. I'm not going to stop. Here's the line. I'm in another hemisphere. I thought it was one of the best shows. This is the type of show that if you've never seen the show before, you stick around. If you've seen this show before and it's getting stale, you're coming back to find out.
It just got amped up for sure. What did you think about, I guess, Rick's initiation into the Saviors with the hatchet in the RV and the smoke-filled Walker land?
I don't say it was an initiation as much as it was a showing of a changing of the guard or who is the boss. It was more so of I'm going to put you in your place, and this is the way I'm showing you. This is the transition to where, go get my hatchet. Rick could have gotten that hatchet, ran off into the woods, or just ran off into the woods. But Negan basically said, you're going to go out there, fight for your life, and then bring this hatchet back to me. Rick didn't jump in there and try and murder Negan with the hatchet once Negan opened the door. Even at
Which
gunpoint.
I thought was weird. I don't know why he didn't. I mean, I understand that, there's the fear that if you fail, like, everyone's dead.
But you don't know that they're not anyway.
Yeah, you don't know that. You've driven away. You don't know.
You don't know that they're not anyway. So, but that was the mindset that Negan had accomplished or was out to accomplish and was able to put Rick in, and that there's nothing I can do with this guy. Not even an attempt. Daryl is shot. You don't know what he's done or had done with the rest of your group since you've left. All you know that this guy is a sadistic murderer.
Right.
Why not take a shot? Because you're close enough to him at that point when he picked up the hatchet, and at several other points where he's gonna get a shot off, but you don't know that he's not gonna kill you anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well go for it. But when someone flips that switch on you psychologically, which is what he did, you're stuck. It's like being in cement, and Rick couldn't do anything. So I think it'll be interesting this season to see where Rick's character goes, if it parallels the comic book where Rick kind of withdraws and he is kind of
subservient.
Mm-hmm. Is that the Rick we're getting a change in the way his character handles things and the way the group sees him, and have to see him fight back from that to overcome Negan and the Saviors.
So a question that we asked each other last week, I want to ask again. Do you think that Negan's story arc will last more than this season after watching this episode?
I think that if Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance continues to be this good, then they are kind of forced to continue to write him along in the show. I don't want to spoil the comics if you guys go out there and pick them up to say what happens to him. I know where this goes. The storyline could go longer than one season, but if his performance is this good, it behooves you to keep him around. Like, I think that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is almost typecasting himself into this
villain role.
This role because of how well he did in 1.5 episodes. Not even a full episode's worth of content. 1.5 episodes. And I know you're excited about King Ezekiel and his tiger. I don't care. I want more Negan, and I want more Negan now. Campaign slogan 2016. We want Negan.
More Negan now. So don't forget to vote on November 8th. Write in your vote for Negan 2016. Or is it the 7th? I forget what day. I probably should be aware of that as a responsible adult American citizen.
You should go ahead and Lucille your vote, though.
Lucille.
Just go ahead and Lucille your vote this year. A vote for Negan is a vote for the Saviors and for you. This probably one of the worst things we've ever.
Yeah, this is worst ideas. The worst ideas we've ever had.
You're gonna have people showing up to voting lines and with bats covered in. Yeah.
No. No.
Do not do that.
Do not show up to your voting poll place with any kind of weapons. Just don't bring a weapon. That's going to cause a lot of issues with policies here in the future.
Yeah, you will probably never be allowed to vote. No, you're definitely not going to be allowed to vote ever again. Going back to the show, Glenn was one of my favorite characters. How do you think Glenn and Abraham's death affects the rest of the show going forward?
I don't know, because in the comic books, Glenn dies, so it makes it follow the storyline. However, we've already strayed from the comics so far in that, like, Sasha's character is actually Andrea's character. Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, Rick's main group, they are losing more members percentage-wise
than like the
Alexandria group.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick's inner circle is getting smaller and smaller. How is that going to affect his hierarchy in the group?
Is it getting smaller though? I mean, like, for instance, his inner circle at the beginning of the show was him and Shane and Glenn and
think
Daryl.
about the people he brought to Alexandria with him. Daryl's not there anymore. Abraham's not there anymore. Glenn's not there anymore.
Not there.
Well, they are. They're just in body bags.
There's no bags. They're just in the bed of the truck. But so he has left Michonne, Maggie, who's gone crazy now.
So Maggie's not there anymore.
Maggie's not there. So he has Michonne. Carl is going to have to step up. I don't know if he's going to trust his son to make decisions. You have Morgan and Gabriel, who are back at Alexandria still.
Morgan's not. Morgan is with...
That's true.
Ezekiel and the kingdom.
He's looking for...
He's not there.
Carol.
And they've never trusted Gabriel. Gabriel's not in the inner circle.
No. Does he have Michonne? Is that it? It's just Michonne?
It's just Michonne.
Holy crap.
Like in his inner circle, because other people are going to come and say, well, there's more people there that came with him and Abraham,
right?
But they're not.
Like Eugene,
Rosita,
and Sasha.
They're not in his inner circle. That they have his back even when he has gone off the rails before. How does that? And that's a big part of where Rick's story probably goes this season.
I think that's going to play into how the comic book goes, where Rick goes into a shell, or he becomes subservient because he no longer has the support of the people around him as much as he would like. Even though it seems like they're going to go back to Alexandria and they're going to gather together whatever this offering is going to be that they're going to receive in a week, the Saviors are going to come get in a week. I'm sure at some point when they're there in the city, they're going to try to create a plan, but Rick's going to say, no, we need to go along with this for now. I think they're going to lose more people because people are going to say this is a horrible group and we need to fight them. So,
well, I think that I've got a renewed vigor for the show, and I'm as excited about this show as I've been in a long time after this first episode.
Definitely. Very much looking forward to see what's going to happen with the Negan story arc.
So next week's episode, it will be our Halloween show. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you'll get updates on when we release that show. Peter and I already have our costumes picked out. I'm coming as Peter Bateman.
And I'll be coming as Terry Diamond.
Can't wait to see how that looks on you, Peter. I'm pretty sure that's probably something you should avoid. But my version will actually be funny.
Yes, because that is much more tasteful, apparently. We are on SoundCloud now. You can look for episodes of Panel of Amateurs on SoundCloud so that you can listen to them when you're not at home. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Get the word out, guys. Panel of Amateurs is a great weekly show. And
there's prizes in it now.
And we're going to be talking again next week, like Terry said, about Halloween and your favorite horror films. So don't forget to answer that question of the week either in the comments below or on Facebook or Twitter. Well, Terry, thanks again for another great episode. I'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Just want to give a quick shout out to our artist, David Gibbons. He created all the art for Panel of Amateurs. You can check out some of his other stuff in a game called The Ables, Free Point High. Check that out on the Apple and Android stores. It's a really fun side-scroller, Mega Man style game. Also, if you make it to the final boss, I wrote that music, so hopefully you'll like that as well. I just want to give a quick shout out to David and say thanks so much for the art. Hey, you're still here. If you didn't know, there's previous episodes you can listen to here and here. So check out these episodes and let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe.